Hello. Hello. Okay. Hello. साथियों, comrades, Jai Bhim. I've been asked to introduce this amazing book, and frankly, I don't feel that I'm up to the level to introduce or talk about Balagopal's works, but I can reflect on it as a student of his works and as a reader of his works. What has been a challenge for most of us of my generation, who are now in their 50s, is that there are things that we grew up with, right? There are things that we grew up with for which we never developed a perspective. We never developed a vision to see through these things which were happening around us. So I remember that when the Karam Chedu happened, there was sort of stunned silence. There was a stunned silence of what had happened. And during the Mandal agitation, we never knew what was happening, except that we were on the right side of the history, thankfully, as students. But we could never interpret what was going on. And Balagopal, through his writings, consistently brought the practices which were happening on the ground, the resistances which were evolving, the sort of thinking which was emerging out of these phenomenal changes which were taking place throughout the land, into a perspective which made sense to us all. So he was the sort of an explainer. He was the person who was explaining things to us in ways that we could understand. We who were not theoretically grounded, we did not know the theory, we did not have a deep study of lot of texts. So how do you make sense out of this world? And this book is a sort of a summary, very, very little of Balagopal's entire works, but it spans that particular arch. And what Gita has attempted, and actually as much the credit goes to Balagopal, of course, for all the writing, he's the author, but the selection of the pieces which have come together in this book are entirely Gita's efforts. And what she has done is that she has picked up writings, and good writings are always immortal. They are always immortal. In fact, I would paraphrase Nietzsche to say that good writings are born posthumously. That is, the good writings become better after they've been written, and as the future evolves and you keep rereading these books to find out what this was all about and what we are all about today. So the three aspects of fascism which are dealt in this book, it's a very short book. I think it's about 200 pages, right? And the articles are also small. Firstly, about the structure of the book. Now, usually what happens is, unless you have read a book cover to cover, you do not understand the book. Here, these are independent articles that he wrote either as an occasion of something happening. For example, during the Mandal movement, you see that a lot of this stuff has happened, and so he has to write something, he has to clarify these moments in history, so those were there. Or there are things which are with a longer perspective, and these are things that you do not understand, but they are shorter articles, 5-10 pages each, and for younger people they make a lot of sense, because you can take one article and read it and then reflect on it and then move on to the next one. When I was, in Hyderabad, there is this term called Hosh Samalna, that is, once you come to your senses when you grow up. I never understood why police is violent. Why is violence required? You want my money, you just take it away. You have the state power. If you want, whatever, you can just take it away. Why are you violent? So there is a brilliant article in this book which finally answered the big question, why is the state violent? It doesn't have to be violent, it can be oppressive, but it doesn't have to be violent to be oppressive. So almost all the articles here, I think except one, are from EPW, which has been a lifeline to a lot of us, and they've been culled from there. So they are arranged in 3 sections which deal with caste, class and the state. And the articles can be read together, his papers can be read together, or they can be read independently. I've been reading them independently for the last 1 week. I was fortunate to get a copy, much sooner than most of you have. But I think it's a primer. It's a primer which interprets not in terms of large theory, but in terms of things that we have personally experienced here, living in this land. The caste violence, which has been unforgiving and unstoppable for the last, decades and centuries, and what its contemporary forms are. What are the contemporary forms of oppression? How it works in spite and with the due connivance of the state. That is actually the central probably theme of the book, and it deals with fascism not at a theoretical level where you say that these are the 7 things which are particular to fascism, etc., but as a general arch, so to say, the sky under which the power plays and the power holds its grip over the masses. The book is written in English, and Balagopal had to use words which have specific connotations. So at times the articles can get a little esoteric, can get a little difficult to understand, but the point is that by reading texts like this, you ultimately start to understand the importance of those words and terms and what they signify. The other thing is that because these articles were written for journals and magazines, one was written for Communal Combat, they are approachable, and at the same time there are these sidebar explanations of things which are otherwise you're very curious about. For example, what is this business about merit, right? I mean, we hear merit a lot of times when it comes to reservations for the oppressed, and you say no, we should have merit. So he opens up this whole word merit for us and shows us that what merit essentially means is privilege. But how does it work? So you read a few of his articles, and then you slowly start developing a sense of what merit is, because each time he encounters a problematic term or a word or a phrase like that, he unpacks it for you, and then he moves on. He unpacks it, just not to disturb the flow, but he moves on, and then he moves on to something else. And so it's a great education, and more than people here who will of course read the book, I would recommend that you take the book and you distribute it among people who are curious about Balagopal's work, one, and second, who are interested in interpreting this for us outside the movement, outside the progressive circles. So in those ways, it's a very approachable book. It's a very approachable book. It's got articles in it which can be independently read, and I hope that some reading circles pick up books like this. This is the 4th book by the publisher, Southside, and more books are coming in. But the whole idea of these publications have been to reach out to people who have hitherto been for whom these texts were not accessible. Now, adjunct to the book itself is also a website of Balagopal, balagopal.org. It's actually a surprisingly very good website, because most of these websites become brochure websites of sorts. They've put together a lot of these texts. It's not very mobile friendly, but I could actually read quite a few of his articles on the book itself, on the website. So the book provides a good jump point to balagopal.org, which is also a great repository of this man's work. You know, usually you hear of people who have had, I mean, if you look at some great writers, whether it is, you know, Ambedkar or, you know, whoever, in whichever medium they've written, or, you know, Sri Sri or Makhdum, these are the people who have gone away before us. The idea of reading Balagopal is also of a person who's present, who's here with us, who is one of us, and who has lived the same history that we have lived. So I think in that way it's an important document. They are important texts, and I'm so glad that the book is here and the book is accessible to us all. Thank you so much.